Hello, my name is Lopter. Today I'll be talking about Loki. These are all my views and my opinions, of course. And some of the things I'll say in this video will be slightly controversial. They might go against the mythologies, but they're, like I said, they're my opinions. Starting off with, Loki's a god of fire. People will be like, well, there's no reference to that anywhere in the mythologies. Well, they're not looking hard enough, because his father is Farbuti and his mother is Laufey. Those names are pretty significant because Farbuti is Cruel Striker, and that roughly means lightning. And Laufey is Dry Leaves. So, lightning meets leaves, lightning strikes leaves, it makes wildfire, which is Loki. Loki's role in mythology is the same as fire. He helps or he hinders. Fire creates and fire destroys. I think that's pretty concise. So, moving on. Loki is a giant. I could list things very dryly about him, so I don't really want to do that, but it might happen. So I'll just list a few things about him and move on to some of the more fun things about him. So, he is a giant, of course. He is the blood brother of Odin. He is regarded as the god of mischief, like a trickster god. I don't really see that, honestly. If anything, I don't know what I'm about to say there. I don't see him as a trickster. Not necessarily. He's very notorious because of one tale involving Hodor and Balder. I'll move on to that later, but he has a very significant part in the story. This is also a different story involving Hodor and Balder. That's completely different. It doesn't even involve Loki. That's actually an earlier tale. But anyway, I'm rambling. I can see that. It's taken me a while to make this video. Keep on messing up. Anyway. In terms of Loki hindering the gods, I can list off a few things he's done. He shaved Sif's hair. Sif is, of course, Thor's wife. Just completely cut her hair off. Many theories as to why. Not really theories. The reason why he's done that was he slept with her, and it was kind of like a shame thing, I'm pretty sure. It's been a while, but I guess like if a wife has cheated or something, you like shave their head. Not sure how true that is, just something I read around. So anyway, he shaves Sif's head. He convinced the gods to hire the giant builder to rebuild the walls of Asgard. And because of that, like, he didn't really know he was a giant, but because he convinced the gods to say, like, well, yeah, we can hire you, and if you make the walls of Asgard within, like, I think it was 2 seasons. If you rebuild the walls by summer, you can have the sun, the moon, and Freya. You know, Freya, of course, would be the bride. And the giant was very, very, very close to completing the walls of Asgard within the deal. So he was going to win. And everyone was on Loki about this, saying, you have to fix this, you've ruined us, like, you just completely betrayed us. And Loki's like, okay, well, calm down, I'll find a way out of this. So, it was they talked the giant down to only being himself. Only he can build the wall himself with the help of the horse. That was Loki saying, like, well, he needs a horse. Like, how is he going to build the wall without at least some help, you know? So that's why they're on his ass about it. And when the giant was building, well, like the horse would like lug like the blocks back to Asgard, you know, back to like the wall. So anyway, as the giant was building one day, Loki turned into a mare, and he led, I forget the horse's name, I think it's Fafnir, maybe? I forget the name. But anyway, he led the horse away into the woods, and there he returned some months later with Sleipnir, or Slipnir. I think it's Slipnir. He returned much later with Slipnir, which is, of course, the famous steed, the eight-legged steed of Odin. This is a very significant part of him. It says a lot about him. So, Loki is the mother of Slipnir. And because he distracted the giant, and, well, he distracted the horse, the giant didn't finish in time. And the giant was like, well, you cheated me out of my deal. I demand payment of some sort. The gods laughed at him. They said, no, a deal is a deal. And you lose. So thanks for the walls, even though they're not really completely built, they're mostly built. So like, well, thanks for the walls, you did a great job. Giant got mad, and Thor finally comes back from thrashing trolls or giants in Jotunheim, and he sees a giant in Asgard, and what does he do? He kills him. So, that's my rambling, but that wasn't a very concise telling of the tale. It's just a very bullet point version of it, the important parts of it. So the moral of that story is, or not really a moral. The whole point of that story was how Loki messed them up. He hindered the gods, and then ultimately he helped them. That's the whole point of it. And I'm sorry for my rambling. But yeah, so Loki's the mother of Slipnir, and many people forget that, I think. Slipnir is the greatest of steeds. It can go through land, obviously. It can go through air, water, throughout the 9 realms. None of that would have been possible without Loki. None of that would have been possible without him saying, we need that horse for the builder. So I get very annoyed when people say that Loki is nothing but trouble, or he's like, I guess he doesn't really care about the gods, because he does. He just messes up a lot. He gets obviously much, much darker as the stories go on. I think a lot of that has to do with Christian influences. I've read a few other early tales. He doesn't seem very dark at all. He seems more like a goofy kind of character. He was pretty goofy. But there's actually a very, very obscure tale of him and Odin and somebody else helping a farm, or helping farmers out with these giants, and Loki's a hero of that story. So he's really not bad at all. But anyway, moving on. He is the mother of Slipnir, which I've said about 100 times. He is the father of Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel. He had those, I guess, monstrous children with Angerboda. This is a fun story. So, I'm sure many people know this. Might be common knowledge. I don't know. I'm just going to talk. I'm done making a video and like deleting it because I'm messing up. I'm just going to talk be fine. So, sorry, I'm really awkward. Anyway, there was prophecies from the vulva regarding these children. Odin talked to the vulva at one point. The vulva? Vulva? I'll say vulva, whatever. So Odin talked to a dead vulva. He raised her up, and he was asking her a bunch of questions. This was actually in the Voluspa, and she was saying how nothing good will come of these children that Loki will produce. So when it finally happened, Odin lost his shit. I mean, like, the whole thing is a self-fulfilling prophecy because of the fact that Odin knew about what would happen, what would become of these kids. He ultimately made them, he kind of, I guess, devised their fate. I'm not sure, but like because of of the information he knew, he caused the kids to do the things that they've done. For example, Fenrir. So Fenrir was growing at an alarming rate. Of course, he's the wolf. He's growing at an alarming rate, and Loki and Angerboda were raising him in the woods of Jotunheim. It might have been Ironwoods. I don't know too much about that, but they're just raising him in Jotunheim, and Odin found out about it, and he wanted to keep an eye on Fenrir because of how fast he was growing. It really scared him, so they go back to Asgard, and they allow Fenrir to live in the forest of Asgard, and he can just kind of exist there, and Odin can just watch him. Everyone was terrified of Fenrir except for Tyr. Tyr actually, in my opinion, like I said, I think I said early in this video, these are all my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings. They're not going to necessarily affect your opinions, thoughts, and feelings, just mine do. So anyway, get some water. The only person, the only god, brave enough to play with Fenrir and feed him was Tyr. And like I said, in my opinion, I think he and Fenrir were good friends. And it kind of makes me sad about what he had to do to Fenrir. But he did it for the good of everybody, of reality, actually. So, because of how fast Fenrir was growing and the prophecy regarding him, Odin decided to take him out to an island. I don't know the name of it, so I'm going to do like a little bullet point of it. Bullet point of the story. So basically, Odin and all the gods and goddesses, they took Fenrir out to a certain place, a certain land. Now Fenrir has grown to like the size of a large house. It's just this enormous wolf. And the gods, they had a fetter made. They had some chains. The first one was called Lading, and they made it a game for Fenrir. They said, well, look, you're certainly ferocious looking, and you seem formidable, so let's have a little game. We'll test your strength. We'll bind you with Lading, and if you kick out of it, we'll bind you with another one and see how strong you are. Fenrir kind of laughed and he was like, okay, fine. Like, I know I'm like greater than you, so it's fine. So Fenrir had Lading put on him, And he kicked out of it, and it just snapped in half. Completely broke. Just shattered. And this kind of terrified the gods, because Loki was a pretty strong fighter. And they had another one forged, and it was called Dromi. And all of these have certain names attributed to it, but I don't really know that right now. I forget. So anyway, enough with my interjections. They're like, okay, you're pretty strong, but how about Dromi? Let's put that on you. And then he was, okay, fine. Put Dromi on him, and he strained a little bit harder, and when he kicked, it shattered again. And the gods were very nervous about what to do, because Loki and Dromi were their best chains. So Odin has Frey's servant. I don't remember his name, but Odin had Frey's servant go down to Svartalfheim to have the dwarves forge a magical thread. And the servant, he told the dwarves the nature of the events transpiring, and they're like, okay, we'll help you out. So they forged Gleipnir. Gleipnir was forged with, I believe, 7 magical ingredients, and it is a very thin golden thread. And the dwarves were like, okay, look, it doesn't look like much at all, but believe me, this thing is strong. It will hold until the end of time. Like, you can hold it in your hands and try to rip it, you can cut it, nothing will happen. It'll hold your monster. And the ingredients of it were, it was the breath of a fish, the roots of a mountain, the beard of a woman, the sinews of a bear, the footfall of a cat, the spittle of a bird. I think that, let me see, footfall, sinew, roots, spittle, oh, breath of a fish. I don't know. I don't want to ramble. So, it has 7 magic ingredients, and that's all that matters. It's forged with art and trickery, and it'll hold him. So they go back and, alright, Frey's servant goes back to the gods, gives them Gleipnir, and says, okay, it doesn't look like anything, but trust me, this thing is strong. So they're okay, fine. And they go to Fenrir, and they're like, okay, hey, so if you can't kick out of a ribbon, you're not a threat to us at all, and you can go free. And Fenrir, reasonably suspicious, was saying to the gods, well, I will only allow, what do you say? He's like, instead of you testing my courage and my strength, how about I test one of yours as well? I will only allow Gleipnir to be placed upon me if one of you places your hand in my mouth as a pledge of goodwill. For if I cannot snap this ribbon, it'll be quite some time before one of you guys helps me out of my situation. I'm going to be stuck here for a long time. That's what he's basically saying. So, nobody volunteered at all for this task. They were all terrified. They knew for a fact he won't be able to get out of this. And Tyr stepped forward, and he put his right hand in Fenrir's mouth, and Fenrir allowed Gleipnir to be put on him. As much as he strained, Gleipnir restrained him even harder. So basically, like, he was struggling and struggling. Gleipnir kept on squeezing and squeezing, and finally, Fenrir bit down and devoured Tyr's hand. All the gods, they rejoiced because they finally restrained this impossible beast, except for Tyr, for he lost his hand. And they also further restrained Fenrir by taking threads of Gleipnir around like a boulder and just burying it like miles deep into the earth, and they like put a sword up into his like jaw, so his mouth is perpetually open, and he will be, his saliva spewing out forms a river. I think it is Revenge, the name of it. It's like Revenge or Wrath. It has some sort of name, but anyway, so Fenrir is just kind of out bound until Ragnarok. Oh man, I'm not really talking much about Loki anymore. I'm talking about other things, which is totally cool. So, moving past all of that, the reason why this story... Okay, I'm still recording. The reason why the story fascinates me and at the same time frustrates me in a little way, is that, first of all, Odin caused this to happen because he knew about Fenrir before Fenrir even came forth into existence. He knew about what would become of him, what would become of Fenrir is he's going to devour Odin at Ragnarok. Ragnarok is the twilight of the gods. It's when like 90% of the gods will die. It's also the time where bonds will break free. So Fenrir will break free from his bonds, and he's going to go straight after Odin. Probably after eating a whole bunch of other Einherjars and giants. He doesn't discriminate. He kind of just devours everything. But, anyways, he knew all of that. And because he knew that, he caused it to happen. It's literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. So, yeah. Someone's getting up. And it frustrates me because I really feel as if Tyr and Fenrir they're good pals. I mean, it seems like they had that sort of relationship, like, kind of like, I can't think of the name at the moment, but they had like that kind of relationship, I think. So, another one of Loki's kids is Jormungandr, and that's the enemy of Thor, which is really kind of funny, because Jormungandr doesn't do anything besides exist, and Thor wants to kill him all the time. I'm pretty sure it's because Thor knows of what he's gonna do, what Jormungandr's gonna do at Ragnarok, so he wants to nip that in the butt, you know? But, like, in all the stories regarding Jormungandr, he just is there. He is, of course, the world serpent. He's the middle child of Loki. And, like I said, Odin allowed Fenrir to be raised in the woods of Asgard. Meanwhile, he threw Jormungandr into the sea around Midgard. So he grew to be so long that his mouth, or his tail, is in his mouth, the Ouroboros. And that's also a very significant part of the mythologies of life and rebirth, Ouroboros. But he's just kind of there. He just doesn't do really anything. And there's this one tale where the gods were having a giant party, like a huge party, and they needed a huge vat to hold. They needed a huge vat to make alcohol with, to supply all their, their guests, and the only place was in Jotunheim, and I think his name was Helgemir. He was a giant, and he was known throughout the worlds of having a giant vat, basically. So Thor goes to him, and I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically Thor goes to him, and he wants the vat, and the giant says he needs to work for him in order to do this, because he doesn't want to just give it to a god, especially the one that kills giants. And anyway, he allows Thor to stay the night, and they're on a farm, and Thor eats all of the dinner that the giant provided. He eats everything, and that was supposed to be their portion for I think a week it was. And then he eventually goes out and kills an ox or something like that. Anyway, I'm very rusty with this story, so I'm going to skip to the point. Basically, he uses an ox head, and they go fishing for more food, because Thor killed the biggest ox that... Was it bull? No, it was an ox. Thor killed the biggest ox the giant had, and was like, "Whoa, look, man, you gotta find me some more dinner then, for both of us." So they go fishing for it, and they're going further and further out into the ocean, and the giant says, "I have to stop you right here, because this is where the world serpent lives, and I am not in the mood to meet that thing at the moment." This is the whole point of this at the moment, was for Thor to slay Jormungandr. And Thor just kind of says, "Well, okay." And they keep on going further and further out, and then the giant was protesting all the while, and Thor feels like it's, he went far out enough, so he casts out the line of the ox head, and lo and behold, he catches the world serpent. And the giant is shitting his pants, right now. So Thor pulls a world serpent up, and as he's doing this, he's pulling so hard, trying to reel the serpent in. He actually, his feet go through the bottom of the little canoe that they have, so water's pouring in, and he takes out Mjolnir when the serpent finally rises, and I think it was as he's about to throw it, the giant cuts the cord, the line, and the Jormungandr goes reeling back into the water, and Thor just gets so mad and just kills the giant. Moral of that story: don't get in Thor's way. You shouldn't get in Thor's way. He gets the vat. That's good. So let me get more onto the subject. Let me get more onto what I was talking about earlier about Loki. Sorry, it's really late. Alright, I said before how he's kind of vilified in a lot of places that I read, and a lot of communities apparently. People who are devoted to Loki, they kind of get crap for that. I think that's wrong. Loki is a god among many of our gods and goddesses. I think he should be revered as such, and he shouldn't be ignored. He shouldn't be shut out, because he's a very influential god that we have, and I think he's a very good asset as well. And Odin knows this. This is probably the reason why he kept him around for so long and put up with all his bullshit. Like, if you don't want to deal, I guess, with Loki, don't bring him on. Don't really, like, talk about him, you know, or say, just show him the respect, but show him that you don't really want attention, but he might want to provoke you because he likes that. He likes to annoy people who don't want anything to do with him, because it's fun. And it's also showing that the person that, well, I am a god, you can't really do much about this. That's kind of how it is. But, I switched gears real quick there. I feel like he deserves the same amount of respect as Odin gets. He is his blood brother. And to toast to Odin, but not to Loki, is a slap in the face to both of them. Because I'll paraphrase this from Lokasana. Do you remember, Odin, when in bygone days we mixed our blood together? You said you would never accept ale unless it was brought to both of us. And that's how it is. So if you toast to Odin, you damn well better be toasting to Loki too. Be prepared to give him respect. I got really real there. So basically, what I'm getting at is, show him a little respect that he deserves. Damn, he helped make Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, Gugnir, which is obviously Odin's spear, Skibladnir, which is Frey's ship that always has a favorable wind, and you can fold it into your pocket as a handkerchief when not in use. What else did he forge? Dropnir, which is the ring of Odin, and it makes a copy of itself every 9 nights. I mean, you have a ring that's making wealth every 9 days. That's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. And he also helped make Golden Bursty, which is Frey's boar. I mean, like, he gave the gods so many gifts, and I feel like he didn't get much in return other than Thor sparing his life because he helped the gods out. He also helped, like I said earlier, he helped make the walls of Asgard. And that's a very important thing that he's done. And he's also gave the gods Sleipnir, or Slipnir, which is Odin's steed. So, if you don't, like I said, you don't have to say, oh, I want Loki's attention all the time, because that's a little too much, but at least show him respect if you prepare to toast to Odin, at the very least. He's done so much. But I think that will conclude this video. I've rambled a lot. But yeah, if you stuck through this half hour, it seems, and with my inane thought process, I really thank you for that. So, yeah. Thank you for watching. I will talk about more things later on. More videos. Well, hail, and take care.